Good morning, two baristas. Well, was Hitler socialist? There's a lot of misinformation peddled on this subject, because telling the truth is never much fun as misleading, self-serving bullshit. If anyone can sort this out, it's me, and while I know that this will not stop the drivel being willfully peddled out there, at least a truthful answer to this question will be somewhere on the record. This question is usually raised by the right and their libertarian allies in order to smear the name socialist with the whole baggage of the Nazi regime through 1945. Hence the sheer idiocy and dishonesty of equating of government public option health care with death camps. The very idiocy of the notion is apparent when you think of what it means, that German Marxists, Social Democrats, or Communists were really on the same side, even though they put each other in prison whenever they could. That the German National Socialist German Workers' Party, Nazi being a contraction, and the Zionist Labor Party were really on the same side, even though their members fought each other to the death in the Second World War. This implies that it was all a big, simple misunderstanding, that these other socialist groups could have resolved their differences with Hitler and the Nazis over schnapps at the Hofbrauhaus in Munich because they're all the same. Well, this is the convenient bullshit being sold to the ignorant by the dishonest, to people who know nothing of socialism or the groups involved, by those who have an agenda against any state-funded social policy. An American journalist named Edgar Ansel Maurer wrote, "Germany puts back the clock." This went through several editions as events unfolded in Germany. This is the second edition of May 1933, which went to press just after the Reichstag fire and Hitler's Enabling Act. Here, Maurer quotes a 1930 letter by the Nazi leader of Dresden to a factory manager regarding campaign practices for that year's elections. And I'll turn to page 149, where this leader writes, "Do not let yourself be continually confused by the text of our posters. Of course there are catchwords like down with capitalism, Jews, etc. But these are necessary, unquestionably, for under the flag of German national or national alone, you must know, we should never reach our goal. We should have no future. We must talk the language of the embittered socialist workmen, or else they wouldn't feel at home with us. We don't come out with a direct program for reasons of diplomacy." Maurer goes on to write, "The capitalists would have been quite willing to allow Hitler and his friends to rule Germany if only they had been sure that they could prevent the rank and file from demanding the promised socialization of key industries and banks, the suppression of department stores, and the installation of economic self-sufficiency." Well, there was indeed a left faction within the party dubbed National Bolsheviks, led in particular by demagogues like Julius Streicher and Ernst Röhm, commander of the Brown Shirts. These were the very people, as per Maurer's quotation, purged by Hitler in his rise to power, because Hitler's nickname at the time was Hitler Legalite, emphasizing his new pinstripe suit of respectability in making his peace with the German establishment, and they with him. Just as the Social Democrats sold out the Spartacists and independent socialists in the German pseudo-revolution of 1918, crushing them in the blood with the help of the old order, Hitler turned against the truly socialist wing of his own party, allied to these same ruling circles. Not only do those using the label socialist not look at all alike, even all German National Socialists were not on the same page. Of course, this only begs the question of how socialist was the Nazi Party and the regime it created. There's no doubt that Hitler pursued a Keynesian economic model of military-based pump priming, but if that makes one a Nazi, then every U.S. president up to now is also Hitler's comrade. As early as the Communist Manifesto, Marx wrote of a German or true socialism, whose main reason was to oppose his theory of class conflict. After German unification, Chancellor Bismarck introduced some of the earliest state-funded public benefit programs, specifically to neutralize the appeal of socialism among workers. These were not only taken over by Hitler, but retained after World War II. World War I, by the way, saw the development of German war socialism, in the finest traditions of the Prussian state that had nothing to do with social democracy. So, as the socialist and labor movement developed, true or German socialism developed right along with it. Mainstream social democracy advocated internationalism, secularism, workers' rights, and increasingly women's and minority rights. To oppose this trend in Austria, the German Workers' Party was founded in 1904 in the Czech Sudetenland, to fight competition from Czech workers and to oppose the pro-minority attitude of the Social Democrats, whose rank and file was dominated by Slav minorities and a largely Jewish leadership. They also opposed the multiculturalism of the old Habsburg regime. And although they had a very radical program, it's not surprising that they had also a working relationship with reactionary forces in the army, the security police, and with employers to combat the threat of Marxist class politics. Its name was changed formally to the National Socialist German Workers' Party in 1918, and Hitler being an Austrian, he was familiar with this group and its ideas. And this same scenario of half revolutionary party, half police front was played out when a branch was opened in Munich in 1919, with Hitler as the liaison between the Munich offshoot and German military intelligence, and eventually taking it over. Forgotten now, also, was that Munich had its own short-lived revolutionary socialist regime, the so-called Bavarian Soviet Republic, after World War I. National Socialists helped disrupt it as much as they could by street violence and assassinating its leaders. And when the German army finally invaded and wiped out, Ernst Röhm was appointed the political chief of staff to the city military commander. Surprise, 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 Sergeant Carter. I guess Röhm forgot he was supposed to be on the same side as the people he was shooting, just like Hitler forgot that he and Röhm were supposed to be party comrades. So anyway, it's true that National Socialism was a form of socialism, but it was also other things. It was German nationalist, white supremacist and racialist, anti-Semitic, anti-foreign, militarist, and imperialist. Note that it's not being taken to task for any of these. Only the socialist aspects, most of which were repudiated by Hitler in practice, are emphasized to serve the purpose of saddling the very name of socialism with all the horror, atrocity, and evil of the Third Reich and of Hitler himself. But note also that those who do this are, like Hitler, despisers of Marxism, multiculturalism, minorities, women's rights, the rights of labor, people who put gay men and women in concentration camps for sterilization and allow medical experiments to be performed on them to find out why they are like they are, who believe in strong national defense and national honor and glory, in a security state that stomps out enemies within who might aid enemies without. It's rather you such people who bear the burden of Hitler's legacy, not the people he really put in concentration camps and whose memory you prostitute to serve his same purposes. Someone knocking at my phone. Hello. Hey, it's Rosa Luxemburg, co-founder of the Spartacus League. You tried to imitate that other Marxist Jew Trotsky with your own German Bolshevism and got yourself murdered and dumped in the river. But did you know that the Free Corps soldiers who tortured and killed you later joined the National Socialist Party? That you and them were really on the same side after all? At least that's what a lot of elements believe now, and they're not all on the fringe. How can they swallow such big lies? Well, you never did leave to see Hitler in action, did you?